Welcome to the Thoughtfully Made Fiber vlogcast. Today is January 30th and my name is Aimee. Sure. I am a knitting pattern designer and spinner living in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm coming to you on a Sunday, recording here on a very sunny but very cold day. Most of our days have been like this recently, and since our last episode there hasn't really been much snow, but I think we're looking forward to a bigger storm coming this week. I think we're expecting something like 5 or 6 inches, which of course the kids are really excited about and I'm really excited about. And I'm loving winter. As many of you know, returning viewers will know, this is my first winter here in Missouri. We relocated here from Los Angeles in May last year, and I thought that I would not enjoy winter here because it'll be so different than what I'm used to, but actually I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying like having different seasons and seasonality to my wardrobe, and having distinct parts of the year to plan my wardrobe makes with. That's really enjoyable to me, and I love playing in the snow, and my kids love the snow so much. And we just have been enjoying a lot of time sitting out in the cold while my kids run about and play all bundled up in their knits, and while I read a little or respond to all your kind messages or knit a little. Oh, and I have allergies. Nope, no sneeze. Oh. No. Took my meds this morning, but the seasonal allergies here in St. Louis continue to plague me. Take a sip of my milk tea here. Today I'm drinking a super special milk tea in honor of a release that I had this week. This past week I was so happy to announce that my pattern, the Effervescent Pullover, which I designed sometime last year, is on the cover of issue number 40 of Pom Pom magazine. It's such a huge honor, and honestly, that was the first sweater I ever designed, and I had pitched it as a sock with like a side note. Like a little illustration that was like, this would also be cute as a sweater, and they asked me to design a sweater, and then I had to learn how to design a sweater. But with the help of my friend and my wonderful tech editor and grader Jessica, we got it done, and it's finally out in the world. I'll put a little picture of the cover here. The next time I talk to you, really, I hope that the magazine will be physically in my hands and I can show it to you. But for now, this picture will have to do. Let's see, the Effervescent Pullover. What is there to say about it? It's inspired by the strawberry milk tea of my youth. There's a little bread shop, like a little bakery, Asian bakery, and boba shop in Temple City, California, which I used to work near. When I started teaching piano, I had taught at a studio in Temple City, and or was it San Gabriel? It was technically in San Gabriel, but allergies. I used to go there almost every day, and I fell in love with their fresh strawberry milk tea. I usually like it there with green tea, so like a milk tea that's got lots of concentrated green tea, some milk, and some strawberry that's been cooked down to concentrate its flavor. So the Effervescent Pullover was inspired by that, and inspired by the whipped cream cheese topping that became very popular, I would say about like a decade ago. It became really mainstream in Los Angeles. For those who don't know, in the bubble tea or boba world, we love to add like we Taiwanese people just love to add all kinds of toppings and not just boba into our tea drinks. And the cream cheese topping is like a slightly savory cheesecake-like topping that's been whipped into like a whipped cream texture, and it tops the drinks. So when I first saw the beautiful pink yarn from Geraldine at the Wandering Flock, I felt so hard for this yarn, like truly the most beautiful color. And she had a little swatch of it knit up on her Instagram, and that just screamed strawberry milk tea to me. And that had become like a little brain worm that got stuck in my head. And it eventually became the Effervescent Pullover, which has the pink coloring, leafy lace, little bubble lace patterning in the yoke. And in the middle of all the tea leaves and the bubbles in the yoke, there is a mohair ruffle to symbolize the whipped cream cheese topping. So I had been holding on to the secret for months and months and months. It's my first time designing for a magazine, and I just had such a good time making this project. So thank you to Megan and Lydia, the editors at Pom Pom magazine, for giving me the chance to work on this pattern. Really, it was like a dream experience. I just felt so well supported as a rookie designer, and I felt like I could do it because I had the support of the magazine and all the resources that they gave me. So there's that. That's loud. Let's see. So I want to move on to everything else because I have quite a lot to talk about. Let's see, what am I wearing? I am wearing the coloring Book Raglan, and it is my next release, which is coming on, oh my gosh, when is it coming? Like February something, you know, let me see. Let me see my calendar here. Like, I forget all the dates because there's so many. The coloring Book Raglan is coming on February 17th, a Thursday. And I think I talked about this last time, but I have a bunch of different PDFs that I still need to make that will be for coloring in with like watercolors or color pencil, whatever you want. And it's currently in testing. This version was knit from Sandnes Garn's Alpakka wool, which is a wonderful, wonderful base. It is half alpaca just about and half wool. I think the proportions are slightly different than I'm remembering. But it's a wonderful, really hard wearing, really, like, I think it's just like one of those workhorse worsted yarns that is good for lots of different things. And I've used it here in my first view. This is the version that has like a little bit of striping on the edge of the garment and in the neckline here and on the hat. So this is the full length version, which hits my hip. And this is the one that I think I would probably wear the most daily because it's warm, it's practical, it's just like a really great basic, but with like a little fun detail. I like it so much, and because of my testers, I've been so inspired. So during the test, I knit up the striped version, View B, that's cropped. But one of my testers changed up the stripe widths, and I was so inspired that I changed all my plans. And I'm now halfway through my own version, which I basically like copied off Daisy. If you're watching this, thank you for the inspiration. Daisy Huang, who I'll link below, knit up like an amazing version with like little pinstripes, like smaller stripes of the contrast color and then bigger stripes of the main color. So I am knitting this one up from Nutiden yarn. As you all know, I'm really enamored with Nutiden lately. Something about the unspun yarn and the way it smells and feels in the hands just makes me feel so close to the origin, like where at the mill where they make the yarn. And it's just so woolly and so close to spinning, like because of how raw and unprocessed the fiber is. It's just, and I also think they have just like the best color blending, and the colors are stunning. So I am using, not that you can get it because they are all one of a kind, like once they're gone, they're gone. I'm using this color, I think it's called Bear Jet, which was inspired by strong women all over the world, which I love that message. Here, just gonna hide behind it so you can see it. There you go. I love the depth of color that you get in these plates. This one was from their May collection. And it's probably the most like rough and ready of my Nutiden stash. It's quite, well, Roy would call it scratchy, but it's quite rustic. I don't find it scratchy. I think this is comfortable for me. I would even wear this next to skin. But it's definitely, oh, it smells so good, the most rustic of my Nutiden yarns. And I am striping it with, the contrast color is Raglan, I think it's called. I'll just grab a plate here. They're still like both attached to the sweater, so it's quite hard to show it. But Raglan looks like this. This one is a creamy white. There's fine wool and lamb's wool. And of course, all of their wool is Swedish. Let me take another sip of my tea. By the way, the recipe for this will be in my coffee subscription, sent in the email to my coffee subscribers. So if you're interested in becoming a monthly member of my group and getting this recipe inspired by my sweater, then check it out. I'll put the link below. Everything I'm talking about today will be in the link below. Okay. Nutiden. So I'm really glad that I am knitting up some of the Nutiden that's in my stash, because like I said quite a few episodes ago, I have big plans next year for Nutiden. Like in the coming year, I would really like to release at least one Nutiden garment pattern, because that's really what, like one of the things I want to knit with the most right now. So, Nutiden. I just shopped the February update, which hopefully by the time you see this, like it should still be available. But I shopped seriously like 4 of the colors, which is the biggest Nutiden purchase I've ever made. Makes me a little nervous, but some of it was for personal reasons, and then some of it was for work, for my designs. And I'm just having such a good time. I feel like I'm zipping through this version of the coloring book Raglan. Oh, it's just, I can't wait to get this. Like, I'm really excited to get Nutiden out of my stash, onto my needles, knit it up, and onto my body. And it's really hard to explain. Like, I don't like having Nutiden in my stash too long, but then at the same time, I just want to go and like touch it and smell it all the time. So I both want it in my stash, but also not in my stash. But then when it's in my stash too long, I'm like, oh, I really want to wear this. Like, I want to be wearing this and not just looking at it. So I'm super stoked that my first Nutiden purchase is finally becoming a sweater. I've actually designed a whole garment for it already, but it was for a secret project that I can't talk about. So, so I've just been, ever since that project, I've been itching to do more woolly wool yarns. I think that's really like the mood I'm in. And maybe it's like the seasonality of being in St. Louis, but when it's cold, I just want like a big woolly hug like this one. So that's really what I want to be. This is like all I want to be knitting right now. But I also have spring releases to plan. So as a knitting pattern designer, I have to knit slightly off season, which is a struggle, I can tell you. I have been making loads of progress on my Aimee project. All right, so one of the spring projects I'm working on is a spring cardigan that came out of my design process for the Effervescent Pullover, which put again here. But I really wanted to have like a more, so the Effervescent Pullover was designed as kind of like a cute spring to summer blouse that you could wear on its own. But while designing it, I found myself also really wanting a cardigan version that's in a bit of a heavier weight for springtime, because in Missouri here, it can get quite windy and chilly in the spring. So I wanted a version for more coverage on those days where I need it. So the version that I'm inserting footage here for is DK weight. It's knit up in a Surrey alpaca, like a single strand of Surrey alpaca, the Kumo base from Aimee, and one strand of Nouveau, which is their non-superwash fingering weight base held together. So that's really, it's like a pure practical garment for me. You can knit it with or without the ruffle, and it'll be a great basic in the spring either way. But I just thought it would be really fun to have like a basic spring cardigan with a twist, like with a little ruffle. These days, all I want to knit are things that like fit into the ordinary, the mundane, the everyday part of our lives, that are comforting and constant and always there with us, but with a fun twist that adds joy. And I think that's really been like my design ethos since I started designing. I want everything I make to be practical and everyday, but also full of the joy that is unique to who I am, like as a queer Taiwanese American immigrant living in St. Louis who grew up in Los Angeles, but then also unique to you, the knitter, and the twist that, and like the contributions that you bring to the project, the memories that you knit into it, your interpretation of like what the Effervescent Pullover ruffle means to you. One of my test knitters called hers the Cupcake Sweater, which I love. That's her take on it, and I love that, co-creating. I think I've talked about it before, but co-creating things with you is my favorite part of doing this. Yeah, so that's what I have slated up for spring. Hopefully I will have the cardigan ready to test very soon, next month, so like mid-February, and it'll be out late April or early May if I really can't get it tested in time. So that is one of my whips. Those are my two whips that are knitting related, I think. Yeah. Springtime. I'm looking forward to that. My next whip is also quite springy. It is a spinning whip. And it's this on the bobbin here. So here's the first bobbin that I spun up. Ooh, that's the ice machine. So here is the first bobbin that I spun up. I think it's so beautiful. The colors are green and gray and yellow. Ooh, the ice machine is going. And it looks like this in the fiber. Oh, it matches me. Oh, I guess this is my color right now. I didn't even think of that. But this string, it's called Sagebrush from, it's a sock fiber with 10% nylon, and the rest is super fine superwash merino. It is by Wound Up Fiberworks. And her sock fiber, her superwash sock fiber, is just one of my favorite superwash fibers to spin with. And I picked this up recently because I finally wore holes in my very first pair of hand spun socks that I made from Wound Up fiber, and it just made me so sad. And I realized I really wanted more hand spun socks into my daily rotation. So more spinning it is. I am spinning it for the My Woolmitten sock spin along, which I think she started early in January, so like at the very start of this month. But I got quite sidetracked. I'll put her podcast below, but if you don't follow her already, you should, because she's an incredible resource. She has all of these really like helpful thoughts and tips and things on how to spin for socks. Just incredible content, so thoughtful, so lovely. She's a small batch farmer in the United States, and she knows her stuff. So I don't know if I'll finish in time because I have so many knitting deadlines, but this fiber is a joy to spin. I don't enjoy spinning superwash normally, but the way that, I think her name is Trisha's fibers are dyed up just make it so interesting to spin and see the colors appear. So I've been enjoying that on my Kromsky Symphony. I'm already thinking that I need to buy some extra parts for my Symphony because all of my spins on it exceed the basic bobbin, and I really want to make like one big little skein. So, oh, I forgot I had another like finished object that I didn't bring. I'll get to that. But yeah, sock spinning. I'm not an expert, but I've been thinking a lot lately about sock fibers and like their relative sustainability. Like I prefer to have a little nylon in my sock fiber because it wears better. And to me, it's a balance of like choosing superwash, which is like inarguably worse for the environment than non-superwash, but balancing that against the fact that I'll go through more pairs of socks if I don't have nylon, if I cannot wash it easily. Although I do hand wash everything now, so I've been kind of diving into non-superwash sock options. I hope to try some non-superwash sock yarns for my patterns coming up so that I can continually experiment and learn more. So unfortunately, I've been thinking that I might need to order some new parts for my Kromsky Symphony. I think I talked about last time how I was missing some parts, or some of the parts did not quite fit because of the handmade nature of the wheels. Sometimes that just happens. It was perfectly functional, but there were a few parts, pegs, and decorative parts that didn't fit, and they have sent the parts, and it's perfect now, and it and I are getting along perfectly fine. But I'm already thinking like, ooh, I think I need a jumbo fire as well, because the regular bobbin does not hold like all the stuff that I'm spinning. I would like to make one continuous skein of yarn, and the standard bobbin just doesn't hold that much for me because I spin with quite a light take-up, which means that as the yarn is wrapping around the bobbin, it doesn't wrap very tightly. In fact, this was just 3 ounces of fiber from a ram named Trouble from Livestock's farm just across the river in Illinois. I think I talked about Trouble last time, and he spun up incredibly, but because it was woolen spun, it really puffed up. Like, it's so big. This is just your regular like 100 gram skein, and it's huge. Woolen spun really is something else. He spun up so well. It was such a joy to spin up this true woolen spun yarn, and I did full it slightly in the, when I washed it, which is the process of lightly felting your fiber gently on purpose. So I washed it, I dipped it in hot water, then I dipped it in cold water, and I switched back and forth a few times. And that action is what helps promote a little bit of felting. And it wants to be something really warm, really cozy. And I wish I had enough yardage here. I haven't counted it yet, but I highly doubt I have enough for a vest for a child. I don't think I have enough yardage, so I think it's gonna have to become like mittens or a hat or like something really, just really warm that'll hug you and keep you really warm from the elements when it's like really freezing cold and there's lots of snow blowing. That's what this yarn is saying to me. I don't know if your yarn talks to you, my dear viewer, but my yarns, especially my hand spun yarns, they talk. They'll like tell me what they want it to be. And this wants to be like a hardcore winter accessory. So that's like one of my finished objects. Oh, so beautiful. This one spun up in no time just because it was such a joy to spin. I would definitely use more fiber from Anne's farm again. And as always, I'll put her link down below. So, what else is there to talk about? So this guy, I think I showed it, but I have more acquisitions. So this was like a big, gosh, it feels like every few weeks has been a big acquisition week for me recently because I've been acquiring stuff for like all of this year's design. So I feel like I'm talking nonstop about shopping, which is alarming. But I'm really close to being done with my project planning for this year. So close. So hopefully there won't be so many acquisitions. Of course, I have my shipment of Nutiden and like all the other yarns that I have coming for my fall and winter season. But for now, I've got this Arrow to the Moon socks, which was based on the cover of the book Arrow to the Moon. Look at this. Don't they go so well together? So, Arrow to the Moon book. I have to admit, I haven't read it. My friend Emily Pan wrote this book. She is a New York Times bestselling author and an award-winning author. Her first book was The Astonishing Color of After, which 1000% broke my heart in the best way. Expecting this to do the same. This book is kind of like a crisscross between Romeo and Juliet, which is a story we all know here in the West, and Chinese mythology, like the story of moon-crossed lovers. And the motifs in the book cover were just so stunning. I think I've talked about it before along with the socks, but I'm super excited to finally have this in my hands. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm in the process of getting diagnosed for hopefully ADHD, and I have not been able to finish books. I think I've read like one book since the start of the pandemic. It's just been so hard. Like everything is extra hard. And I read only one book, and that was Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. It's just really hard for me to sit down and read a whole book right now. It's hard for me to even play video games for an hour, but for some reason knitting works, so I'm sticking with knitting. But I will read this once I'm on my medication. Whatever medication I end up on is probably going to help me focus enough to read this book. I've read a few pages, which is very exciting. But I'm not gonna lie, Emily, I'm sorry. I won't get to this book until I get my medication sorted out. Arrow to the Moon. It's coming out in April. I will be talking a lot more about this. There will be a knit-along for these socks, and actually any Asian American designer or projects using yarn dyed by Asian American dyers will qualify for the knit-along. There will be it's like a new special Asian American edition of the Knit Diverse Knit-along, which is how I started this podcast in the first place. Exciting stuff. I'll be talking about it a lot more in the coming days. I've curated a small and lovely group of Asian and Asian American makers. Aside from Melanie of Big Little Yarn Co., there will be a few other surprises up my sleeve. So between Emily, Melanie, and I, and a few other makers, we're going to have an update in the end of February to promote this yarn and some notions that I've got coming up that I'll show next time. And oh, what else? What else have we got? Yeah. Oh, the pattern. The pattern is coming out the first week of March, so it's all happening that 1 week at the end of February and the start of March. It's all happening. So I'm really excited to share more details. And then in April, we'll have a knit along and read along centered around this book. We'll all read it together. Hopefully by then I'll have my meds sorted out so I can actually read. Yeah, so that's my new acquisition. I'm super excited. I've been really enjoying teaching for World Knitting Live. Their February registration is live. I'll put it down below. But in addition to the sock class, which sold out last time, like I could not believe I sold out the sock class. I'll be teaching the sock class again the weekend of February 17th. I'll be teaching this 2-part sock class for beginner sock knitters where I really enjoy the lecture parts where I teach about the history, the history of sock making, not just knitting, the anatomy of the foot and why a heel, like how a heel flap sock works to fit around the anatomy and modifications that you make to fit your foot. I teach about the materials, like I said, of how to source a hard-wearing but comfortable sock yarn. I also demonstrate all the techniques needed to knit your first pair of heel flap socks. In the class, we knit up like a little itty-bitty baby-sized one, like this big. And that gives you all the skills that you need and functions as a gauge swatch so that you can knit an adult pair. So that's happening. And the new class, got my eyelash or something. The new class that I'm teaching in February will be about the coloring book raglan, or any raglan that you want to use. So using the coloring book raglan as a base, I will be teaching you how to modify it to suit you, to make your own style. So that one is more for like advanced knitters who have knit a few raglans before. You can add ruffles, you can add bell sleeves, you could remove shaping, you can add shaping, you can make puff sleeves, you can make like A-line shaping, like a big shaping in your sweater. You can make waist shaping if you like to have a little more curvy fit. All of those things will be taught in my From Sketch to Reality class. In that class, we'll just be using a calculator, a pen, a pencil, and a printed copy of either the coloring book raglan, which will be coming out that weekend, or your favorite worsted weight raglan sweater. And during the class, I'll explore like the basics of how to use just those tools, no spreadsheets, how to make modifications to your favorite raglan pattern. I'm hoping that the coloring book raglan will become your favorite raglan pattern. It is mine, which is why I'm now knitting up a third one. Oh my goodness. Really hope I could get this third sample done in time for the launch. I didn't plan for it. Like I had not planned to make a Nutiden one, but then after I saw Daisy knit one from Nutiden, I realized I had to make Nutiden like one of the sample yarns because as a Nutiden newbie, I feel like I'm always looking for good patterns that feature Nutiden. And I'm thrilled to be able to say that Nutiden is beautiful in the gauge that I use for the coloring book raglan. So I'm really happy to add another Nutiden pattern into the world. So stoked. I feel like when it comes to woolly wools, there's so many people who don't like it. Like I remember reading reviews of Brooklyn Tweed's Shelter, and people like loathed that yarn. They hated all the vegetable matter. They hated how it's sometimes thick and thin because it's wool and spun. And to me, Shelter is not that thick and thin. Like, it's a pretty consistent yarn. People loathed it. They didn't like how it's wool and spun, so it breaks apart and drifts apart more easily. The people who hate Shelter will really hate Nutiden. But I feel that if you like those kinds of yarns that are a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more farm-like, a little bit closer to nature, you're gonna like Nutiden. I feel that there's not, Nutiden does not have a massive following on Instagram or anywhere else, but people like me who like Nutiden love Nutiden work. Like, there's no such thing as like a medium Nutiden fan. Nutiden fans are very passionate fans, and I count myself very lucky to be one of the people who's gotten to work with it. So yeah, Nutiden version of Coloring Book Raglan is coming at you. Hopefully the next time I record, it'll be done. But until then, I hope you're all well. Let me know what you're making and what your favorite thing from today's episode is. I can't wait to show you my finished sweaters, both of them, and to start our Knit Diverse Knit Along in April. The Knit Along will run on Instagram, so follow me there at Aimee Makes if you don't already. I think most of you do, but the Knit Along will be on Instagram only. It will run from mid-April, from when this book comes out on, I think, April 12th. Well, this way, April 12th, and it will run all the way through Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is May. So it'll be like a good 6-7 weeks knit along, and there'll be prizes and other fun things along the way. And I'm just so excited to be able to share my space with other Asian American makers and Asian makers. You all know by now that that is why I'm here, to lift other people up, make my honest living, lift other people up, change the fiber industry for the better, and make it a more diverse and inclusive space. That's what I'm all about. So I'm really excited to be able to dive into this special knit along with you all. If you want to follow along, follow me over there. And if you haven't signed up for my newsletter already, I'll drop the link below. That's where all the details will be. In case you don't like to be on Instagram and you don't want to like rely on the Instagram algorithm to serve you my content, and you don't see my content on there, you won't miss it if it comes straight into your inbox. So newsletter below, Instagram below. The recipe for the strawberry milk tea, coffee subscription only. Lots of things going on. Oh my gosh. I think I covered everything. I hope you're having a great day. See you next time.